was something that I picked up from my pastor at church, and I always use it just to kind of break the ice when I'm talking about money, because one thing that we all do, things in common that we all do with money. And the thing that we have to always think about is that it's always an order to everything. If you're going to do it right, you have to know that you have to do things in good order. So I always start off giving you the wrong order, the order that most people do with their money, the 5 things we all do, but we probably do it in the wrong order. And that's spend money, pay bills, we probably pay taxes, we will share or give, and then we'll save. But if we all think about it, that's really not the right order, correct? I know if I'm talking Wednesday night church meeting, we always know that we give first. That's number one. So if we're doing things in the right order, and that's regardless of how you look at it, whether you're sharing it with someone else or giving it to God. The first thing you should always think about when you get your money is giving something to someone or to whatever you choose. It should be a priority on the list. The next thing, of course, is Uncle Sam's gonna always get his part. So we know we have to always have that foremost in our mind. Then, of course, we're gonna always have bills. It's gonna be some bills regardless. Sometimes people think, oh, well, I'm gonna retire and all of a sudden I'm not gonna have any bills. Oh yeah, you're gonna always have bills because you're gonna always have to buy food. You're gonna always have to pay for gas. You're gonna always have utility bills. It's gonna always be a bill. If you're living and breathing, it's gonna always be a bill. So you have to always have some source of income, okay? So when I hear people talk about retirement, which I spent 15 years of my career actually helping people plan for retirement, you have to always plan for income coming in, okay? So then you always gonna have an opportunity to decide whether you're gonna save. Most people spend most of their time spending their money rather than saving their money. Saving should come before spending. Spending should be the last thing on the list. That means spending after, just on discretionary spending. So when I'm saying spending, I'm not talking about your bills. I'm not talking about your have to do. So that's what I like to leave people thinking, is make sure that when you're talking about money, that you always know that you have to have order. You have to have order in everything for it to work. So that's first and foremost, the first thing you want to always remember. The next thing is that you want to recognize your own spending habits, because we all know we have things out of order. So if you already know you're out of order, the only way to get order is to sit down and analyze where you're out of order. Well, if you already know you got spending at the top of the list instead of giving at the top of your list, then you got to start figuring out, well, how can I all of a sudden get this? You got to look at where my money, what am I doing with it? A lot of times I would tell people, my husband, who actually thinks he's a better saver, which he really is, but even a person that's a good saver could have bad spending habits. So you can look at the fact that in his case, he used to buy lunch out a lot. And even though he would never admit that he was spending a lot of money, if you think about it, if you spend $20 a day on lunch, that could add up to be a lot of money. But now that, of course, that we're in the pandemic world and most people are working from home, just think about the amount of money that we've actually saved just from them removing us out of our office and putting us in our house to work. So that's money right there that we've actually that's been created in our budget that we can actually use to bring up to the top of the list to either give or pay bills. So those are some of the things you have to look at your spending habits. Where am I spending my money? They do examples in a lot of textbooks about, spending it on coffee or spending it on, ladies, we like to shop, where is it that, I used to say I had a Macy's disease. Now they closed Macy's down. I said, well, Lord must knew I need to get rid of it. So, it's just certain things that we know we have bad habits of doing. So we have to analyze those bad habits. And that's how you kind of help get yourself in order. those things that you know that you can change, those are the things you pray about to change when it comes down to your money. Okay. So when you're looking at a budget, people think that they have to take all this extra time to create a budget. Well, you can if you want to. If you're really a detailed person and you want to spend a lot of time having a really nice, elaborate budget, you can like put together a really elaborate budget. Or you can just basically take out a sheet of paper one day and say, okay, give me my have to pay bills. The things that I know I have to pay. I got to pay my mortgage. I got to pay my rent. I got to pay my utilities. I got groceries. I got to have gas. Those are my have to bills. So you got to know what money do I have coming in and what money do I have to have going out. Then you start thinking about what you like to have. You like to have things. These are the things I like to have. Maybe you have some like to have bills right now. Those are the ones that you need to consider trying to pay off. Them are the first ones you need to try to pay off is your like to have bills. Now, sometimes, and I do this to myself, I may not be as quick to pay off my like to have bills if I'm just like to charge it back up. So that's where you have to actually analyze yourself. Because if you just gonna like to have it and then just like to pay it, charge it back up, then maybe you want to concentrate on something else. Now, another minister that I like to listen to, and some of you guys may like listening to Tony Evans too. And one of the things that he said is that debt is anything that you have to pay over 30 days is debt. So anything that's over 30 days due is debt. So you have to learn how to discipline yourself. You know, if you know you're a person, like when you go in the store and they be constantly saying, open this credit card up and you can get so-and-so free and this and that free and that. If you ain't gonna pay it off in 30 days, don't open it up. Because then it is debt. And they didn't help you at all. They just help you create a whole nother bill. Okay, these are just some tidbits for you, the nuggets that hopefully you already know, but if you don't, take it and use it, okay? The other thing that I'd like to mention is that the experts say that 50% of your income should be used for your have-to bills. So when people are sitting down and analyzing your credit, they're looking at, well, how much of your income are you actually using for your have-to bills, your discretionary bills, and how much are you using that's left over? So basically, you want to kind of put yourself in the frame of mind that when you're trying to get everything in order, that 50% of your income is used for your have-to bills, meaning your mortgage, your utilities, your groceries, your car note, those have-to things. Your discretionary bills would be like your credit cards that we hope that we don't have. But if you have bad habits, then you have credit card bills that you hopefully will get rid of. And if you do have them, one of the ways to consider getting out of debt is what they call the snowball effect. The snowball effect simply is saying you can pick whichever direction you want to go. You can take your highest balance bill and concentrate on that, or you can take your lowest balance bill and concentrate on that. I like using the lower balance one because it does create the snowball effect, where if you take that payment and pay, let's say that payment was $100 a month, and you had a balance of $500. Well, once you finish paying that bill off, now you can take that $100 and put on the next bill. And let's say now all of a sudden you got $200 to pay on the next bill. And so you create this snowball effect because each time that you pay off one bill, you take that payment and use it toward paying off the other bill, as opposed to trying to put an extra $10 here and an extra $10 there, and you're not getting anywhere on any of them. You concentrate on a certain one. Either you're going to concentrate on the one with the highest interest rate or concentrate on the one with the lowest balance. Whichever way you want to decide to do it, you just want to concentrate on one. So when you get that one paid off, you take that payment and move it to another one and go from there. So you create a snowball effect so you can get your debt paid off. So basically what I've just done is basically to give you some tips on how to get your order, how to think about just creating a simple budget, just sitting there, just writing down on a sheet of paper where the money is going, analyzing your own spending habits, okay? Knowing that everyone is looking at where are you spending your money? How much money do you have coming in? Okay? What kind of credit debt to income ratio are you actually creating? And if you have bad habits, all you got to do is sit back, analyze it, come up with a strategy, change the process, just like anything else. Of course, pray about it, just like everything else. And then God willing, you'll get it all straightened out. And so that's my story on that part of the section. And I'm gonna move straight into the life insurance. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am. We're gonna, if you have questions, you can put them in the chat. And you can also send me a text. Many of you have my cell number. And we're also going to be doing a couple of giveaways. So please listen carefully and monitor the chat so that when questions come up, you'll be able to place it in the chat. Thanks so much.
Okay, I'm trying to get my screen to move. Okay.
And Sherri, while you're pulling your screen up, this is Cynthia. I just want to make a comment on that with the budgeting and everything. We do have to remember that the better we budget, then the more money we will have to leave an inheritance. And we remember that in the Bible, Proverbs 13:22 talks about a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. So this verse keeps our life and our goals and our vision in front of us, because we have to remember inheritance is not just money. Inheritance is also your family can inherit your character, your qualities, your integrity. So a combination of that financial inheritance, with your budgeting, being able to pay off your debts and having more money to even invest in and leave for your family, your financial inheritance with your wisdom and godliness is going to ensure that the next generation is going to follow and pick up what you're doing, and then they will be able to succeed and leave an inheritance to their children's children.
That's correct. And just piggybacking from that, just to let you guys know, a lot of people are unaware that Allstate is a fully pledged financial institution. We can offer anything from life insurance all the way up to the highest investment. I am a licensed investment advisor. I have all my credentials, including that ability to trade and sell stock. Even though I tell everybody my main focus is actually helping people to do everything but trade and sell stock, because I don't know many people that afford to do that. But I am fully licensed for every financial product that's available to anyone that's out there. And Allstate has all of financial products that's available. And we do represent some of the major companies that's in the industry today, like American Funds, Fidelity Funds, BlackRock. We have a array of products, Prudential, Lincoln. We have an array of products that people.
Hey, Cynthia, I think we may have lost her.
It's one that everyone.
Oh, she's back.
Thank
you. It makes sure that they have, okay? And moving right along, the thing that most families need to think about is how much life insurance do you really need for your financial future? Sometimes people have life insurance, they may have it on their job, they don't think a whole lot about it, but you do need to sit down with a financial planner or someone that's versed in life insurance so you can make sure that you have the appropriate amount of life insurance for your family. You may need life insurance, more life insurance when you have smaller kids. You may need more life insurance if you have a mortgage on your house. You may have changing needs as your life progresses. So those are the kind of things that when you're sitting down with a financial expert that they can help you with. So like say for instance, when you first starting out, when you're 18 to 25 years old, you might not need as much life insurance. As you actually get older and you start building a career, buying a home, you may need more life insurance. And as you can see, this chart gets even longer when you start thinking about your income that you have to have, disability insurance you may need. If you have long-term care situations, planning for, like Cynthia says, for the next generation and just transferring wealth. So those are the things that we talk about when we're talking to people about life insurance. Of course, life insurance is for the living. Life insurance is not really for the dead. It's for you protecting those people that you're leaving behind. So you want to have peace of mind so that when you lay to rest, that you know that you've taken care of those people that you left behind. Our job is to help you figure out how to make sure that you have that peace of mind. And of course, what actually fits in your budget, okay? Because sometimes you may want, we all want everything, but can afford everything. So we have to try to narrow that down to what fits in your budget and what do you really need for your family. So a lot of times people are unaware of the different types of life insurance products that's available. Old school is that everybody thinks that it's a term policy and a whole life policy. Whole life is only one type of permanent insurance. And I've been having to say this to people over and over and since I've come back to Allstate, because most people have universal life insurance and they think it's whole life insurance, and it's totally different. So that's one reason for everybody on this phone. If you think you have a whole life policy, which you might very well have, but you want to go back and review your life insurance to see whether it's whole life insurance or universal life insurance, because there is a significant difference between the two. They're both permanent insurance policies, but they have different ways of how they actually come into play, okay? Of course, your term insurance is basically what it's saying. It's like renting. It's like buying insurance for a certain period of time. Most people are going to buy term insurance when they're trying to protect their income, when they're trying to protect a mortgage, when they have smaller kids. So basically what they're trying to do is buy more insurance for a lower premium amount. So, and oftentimes when a person is like looking at their premium on a term insurance policy, and then we start talking to them about a permanent insurance policy, the difference in cost is so different. Okay, well, wait a minute. But you have to realize on a term insurance policy, it's just like going out, maybe, I guess, leasing a car. It's like the insurance company is looking at it like this. If you're 25 years old and you're buying a 20-year term policy, the likelihood of you actually dying before 45 is slim. It's not to say it can't happen, but the probability of it happening is slim. All insurance is based on statistical data. So they're banking on the fact that most people are not going to die before age 45. So that's why policy is not priced at that higher rate, because they don't really think something's going to happen to you. Okay. But if you buy a permanent policy is for the lifetime of that person. So they're actually pricing it because for the fact that they know for certain, if you keep paying that premium, they are going to have to pay a claim. So the prices are totally different, but it is based on life expectancy. Okay. Which gets you into the difference between whole life and universal life, because a whole life policy is the most expensive permanent life insurance policy that is out there. And that's why most people were buying universal policies, because the premium was slightly lower. And at the time that they were buying it, interest rates were extremely high. So when people were selling them those policies, they were projecting out as though that they would last, that premium would stay the same for the rest of their entire life. Well, guess what happened to interest rates? They're like extremely low now. So now when you project out those policies, they're not projecting out to the same life expectancy as they did back in the 90s. So a lot of those people that bought policies in the 90s that actually thought that their rate was going to stay the same all the way to age 100 are now finding out that those rates are not going to stay the same to age 100, because a universal policy is actually giving you a projected rate and not a guaranteed rate. A whole life policy gives you a guaranteed rate, and they're charging you a higher premium because they had to charge a higher premium in order for them to try to protect the company. So that's kind of the difference. And then you have what they call variable life insurance, which is a different type of permanent insurance. They've got index variable life. They got all different types of permanent insurance. So when you're sitting down talking to a life person, you want to make sure that you kind of get them to explain the difference. And they have what they call an illustration, and that illustration will give you more details as to what you actually are looking at. So basically, your life insurance policy can be tailored to what your particular needs are. If insurance for just to protect your mortgage or for your younger kids, then we're probably going to be talking to you about term insurance. Do you need a term insurance and a permanent insurance? Probably so. Can you afford both? We don't know. We won't know till we talk to you. But most people do need both policies. They may not be able to buy them at the same time. So what most insurance companies will do is let you buy a term policy and let you convert it to a permanent policy somewhere down the road. So those are some of the things that I can tell you about life insurance in a little short mini meeting. But when you sit down with your life specialist, make sure to get them to do a thorough assessment of your life insurance needs. And if you need any help, of course, Cynthia and I are definitely available to help you. One thing that I will tell you that's true about us is that we're only going to give you information. If you are interested in doing business with us, great. But if you walk away and I just need the information, then we're going to say, thank you for giving us the opportunity to offer you service. And we're going to give you the information and be happy that we had the opportunity to give you the information. So that's how we operate. And so I can tell you for certain that if you are interested in sitting down talking about life insurance, you want to make sure to discuss this with your spouse if you have one. If you have any other family members that you think that need to be aware of your life insurance, make sure to discuss that with them. If you have life insurance, make sure that your family know where to find that information. Make sure that there's no secrets to anybody, because if they don't know, guess what? When you pass away, the insurance company don't know either. So unless your family member notify the insurance company, your insurance money is just gonna be sitting there with the insurance company. So make sure you keep your beneficiaries updated. Make sure that, if you need to meet with your agent periodically to make sure that sometimes you forget about what you bought. Sometimes you need to be refreshed on what you have. Take the opportunity to get someone to refresh you on what you have. Life insurance is just that important, because you never know when, you may need it. You may need it sooner than later, hopefully later, but whenever you need it, you want to make sure that it's there for you, whatever it is that you purchased. So any questions that, if I have time, if not, I'll let Cynthia go into her Facts of Life book and I can get that up for her.
Yes, ma'am. And you can go ahead and switch to
Okay.
the other tool. I have
Okay.
a question. My question is, what is the best age to secure life insurance?
The sooner the better. Of course, life insurance is dependent on age and health. Okay, so you can buy life insurance on a baby. You can buy life insurance on an adult, but of course the needs change. So as a baby, you don't need as much insurance as you would as an adult, and of course, insurability becomes a question. You couldn't buy $1 million policy on a baby, but you could on an adult that had $1 million need. So it just depends on your need and your situation. So I would say wherever you are in your life, if you think you need additional life insurance, or if you have any family members that you think now's a good time to at least start getting policies on them, I will start getting whatever you think you need, because it's never right or wrong time.
I have another question here in the chat. It says, what happens if a beneficiary is not listed? What happens to those funds?
You absolutely have to have a beneficiary listed, but if it's no beneficiary listed, you can always go through some type of probate court to get the money. So the money does not belong to the life insurance company. The money belongs to the insured. So whoever was the name insured, like say for instance, I was the name insured, but all my beneficiaries had died. Whoever was left in my family that knew that I had a life insurance policy would have to go through probate court to get that money. But if you're listed as a beneficiary, it's no reason to go to probate court on a life insurance policy.
Okay, I have one more question. This person is asked, Cynthia Rogers, she asked, is it best to get term or whole life insurance?
I would say it's good to have both if you can afford both, but it always depends on that person's particular need. The insurance has to be customized to that person's particular need. Okay, so let's say for instance, if I was talking to someone that had a 2-year-old child and let's say they were a single parent, I would definitely recommend term insurance, because if something happened to that parent and somebody had to raise that child, they would need that additional money to help raise that child if something happened to that parent while that child was still a young child. Now, if that person could afford both a term policy and a permanent policy, because if they were young, then we would look at both. But yes, it depends on the situation. It just
Okay.
depends.
And one final question. Can I insure anyone, even if they're not related? Does there need to be a relationship to insure someone?
I think that's an outstanding question, because a lot of people think that they can insure anyone, and the answer is no. You have to have an insurable interest in a person in order to buy life insurance. Insurable interests would be like a husband's wife, a spousal situation, a mother child, and they actually have a cutoff period on a child, because once a child reaches an adult, which now is considered 6, they will question why a parent is buying insurance on an adult child, because they think that child should have the ability to purchase insurance on their own. If you're divorced, they will still look at the possibility you need insurance if it's kids involved. If you're business partners, things like that, but it has to be an insurable interest.
Or you could be a church and of course, trying to pay off a mortgage. And if something happened to the pastor, you want to make sure you have funds there to be able to, continue the work that you all are doing, and maybe bring in another pastor and pay them a certain amount. So it could be something like that, even a church relationship.
Yeah. So yeah, it has to be
Sherri.
Pastor, you gotta take that back to the conference.
They already give us insurance.
Yeah, I'm sure they take great care of Pastor.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes people do buy life insurance and use it as a means of saving for retirement. So it's some other needs out there, but yeah, it's some creative ways to use life insurance. But yeah, that's an excellent question. You do have to have insurable interest.
And one thing I would like to say on life insurance, a lot
I have
of
a question, Karan.
Okay. What? Go ahead. Sister Johnson.
Who, me or the other person? Okay.
Well, we
Hi,
want to
Sherri.
y'all's
I
questions.
just talked to you about 3 weeks ago, Sandra Johnson. But I wanted to know, I've had an experience where, and I have a question about funeral homes. Do they have a database that they can look up to see if a person has insurance? If, because I'm concerned about my brother or somebody like that. Is there a way they can find out? if you
Uh,
have insurance?
Typically, no. Typically, you would have to inform the funeral home who you have insurance through. There is a way that the policy can be assigned to a funeral home where if they're waiting on payment and you don't have payment up front, the policy can be assigned, and most funeral homes will accept it as payment.
You,
Okay.
you have to be careful about the amount though, for doing
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so now we're gonna go ahead to Miss Scales, Miss Cynthia Scales. You have two
Okay, you all can
want
put
to
the
show?
booklet up.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to get this booklet up. I'm sorry. I see it, but I haven't been able to put it on the screen yet.
But while Sherri is putting that on the screen, what I can say is our experience is most African Americans do not have life insurance outside of their job. Most of us have life insurance at work, and then we live longer and we retire from that job and we're 65 or 68. And now, as we're working with you on your retirement needs to try to help you plan for that with 401ks or mutual funds or annuities, now you're going to need to buy life insurance, and you're 65 years old trying to buy a policy. And most of the time, the older you get, you have some kind of sickness. So the insurance is going to be based on your age and your health. So what we do say is definitely, even though you may have life insurance at work and paying $1 a year for it, you want to get your own policy, because then that way, when you get it, then that way you retire from your job, or you may quit your job and start your own business, or whatever you may do, you will have life insurance and it won't cost you so much. So it's important to look at going ahead and getting it outside of your job. Now we can move on. All right. Go ahead.
I think Quran got that up for me, didn't you?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
All
you, because I was not having any success on my end. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move through this. And this booklet is called The Facts of Your Life. And it is an electronic version. So if any of you need this, you will be able to pull it up online, or if you give us a call, I can provide you with one. But it's exactly what it says, The Facts of Your Life, keeping track of life's essential information and documents. And you can go ahead to the next screen, Karan. And basically it's just talking about a life well planned, being prepared, and gets you and your family through life's most difficult moments. So here, as far as the use of this book, you can just go ahead. It just tells you, it has information in here where you can fill out worksheets, and it tells you here where you can keep all of your important information. It talks about your certificates and legal documents, your living wills, your power of attorneys, and this information here, the basic things as far as the data was created, the name and everything, because then that way, if you did this 10 years ago, it's time for you to update your information. Now, of course, your social, your birth is going to be the same, but this book, you want to make sure that you keep it somewhere safe, because it's going to have all of your personal information. I usually suggest that you have two, one at your home and one to someone else. Let's say if you have a child or a brother, an uncle, or someone that would take care of your business if anything happened, they would get one of these books. Then that way, like the lady just asked a question about a concern for her brother, what if he had a life insurance or a burial policy somewhere? Well, if you've already got this book completed, you can complete it on your parents, if you're caring for your parents or whoever it may be. Then that way, if anything happens, whether they are on vacation, whether they're in the hospital, or ultimately if they go home to be with the Lord, then you know all the information, and you don't have to start searching through drawers and start looking for things. You'll have everything here. So like on this page, it shows all about your attorneys, your insurance agents, your financial advisor, accountants, trustees. And of course, if nothing is in that block, then your person, whoever you give that to, know that there's nothing there. Here's all your legal certificates, like your birth certificate. You may keep that in the top drawer on top of something, and you can just put it in the book if that's where you keep it, or you may keep it in a lockbox. But wherever it is, that's where you're going to put it. So you can see it's a place for everything. You may not have adopted anyone. You may not have a guardianship, but it's still a place in here for everything that you could have. Your marriage certificates, unfortunate divorce papers, death certificates, military records. So we can go on and on, all of your wills and your trusts. And this reminds you that you need to go and get a will if you don't have one, and update it, if you do have one. And of course, living wills for your health care, you know, because a lot of times as our parents get older, you have to have a living will for their health care, to be able to talk to the doctors, to be able to care for them. And then also on their properties, their homes that they may own, their cars, their furniture, anything like that. And then here's your loans and liabilities, all of your credit card information. And prayerfully, as Sherri talked earlier about paying down debts and having budgeting, a lot of this information, you won't have as much there, but you will still have some. And then you have your loans and your liabilities. It all has all your information about who is it, the phone number, where do you keep it? And then notes right here. So if you want to make a note, it has notes on most of the papers where you can make a note to someone about what you're trying to do. And here it talks about keeping a log of your personal assets. You see here all of your bank accounts, investment accounts, insurance policies, your 401, your personal properties, and even talks about your safe deposit box. You always want to go through there and see what's in there, you know, from time to time. And if you don't have one, and of course you're going to list that there, then that person knows that they're going to through your information, you don't have a safety deposit box. Here are all your financial records. So you know how sometimes we forget what we did and when we did it and how long we've had it. Well, here, all your employment benefits from your 401k, your pensions, your insurance policies, and this says homeowners, but it's a place in here she keeps going to for everything, and it tells you where everything's located for your Medicaid, Medicare, disability, dental, vision, long-term care, critical illness, because sometimes your husband may take care of all of that and you don't, or vice versa. You may do that. And he may not even know who the doctor is. He can pick up the book if he had something going on. He can pick up the book and see, okay, who's our doctor? Maybe you're at work and he can't reach you, or you're out of town, but all of your information is in there. Then that way you have everything in here. And you can keep going. It's assets of all your property. Again, your mortgages, other properties you may own, your vehicles. It even has your VIN numbers in here, all of your possessions, your valuables. So whatever that is in here with the notes, you can put in here who you want to leave that to. Now, of course, a lot of times you may have it in your will. Let's say you don't, then you're going to list here, you know, who you want to get that. And then you go on, it has all your records of property for your automobile registration, birth certificates. It has a little of everything, because you see it even talks about gold, coins, silver, your deeds, your jewelry, passport, stocks, titles, your veterans papers. So all of that information is listed in here. And then you can keep going. All of your, anything you have online. A lot of people are doing things online now. So therefore, anything you have online, any accounts there, then you're going to list that. So again, because you have so much information here, your computer login information, of course, all of this is private and you don't want people to get access to that. So therefore, of course, you're going to make sure that you keep it safe at home. And then you also, whoever has a book, so if anything happens to you, because it may be that you may want to give it to someone because you may be married, but you still may give it to your sister, because if something happens to you, then your husband may not be able to handle a lot of, or vice versa. So if someone else has it, and they can help them through situations. But you have everything, your government websites, your social media, photos, online retailers like you see Amazon, eBay, you know, all of your companies like that. If you have travel accounts, because some people do have travel, you know, you may have your airline accounts, or Delta, where you get all your miles, or American Airlines, or what. Then here you have your mobile device, your home security systems. And of course, these things may change from time to time. So from time to time, you may update that information. But here you go with your financial and insurance accounts, all of your banking accounts, your savings, your investments, all kind of your financial information. And then whatever other you may have, that most of the things are listed here, but let's say there's something else that's not, then you can go ahead and list it here. All of your credit cards and the card numbers, everyone that you owe, you know, then that way that helps you too to look at your budgeting to see who it is. And as you start paying things down, then you will change your information here. And then you have your online as far as all of your automatic payments. Everything is listed here. You even see it talks about newspapers and media subscriptions, movie rentals, you know, different things like that. So it has a place in here for everything, your mortgages, your loan payments, utilities and other services, and then your charitable donations are listed here. So you have that. And then sometimes, of course, you may want to give to your church. If you went home to be with the Lord, you may want to make a donation to your church. Of course, that would be in your will, but you also may have it listed here. And then you go on with your automatic payment accounts, all of your, of course, it has a lot of information about insurance because a lot of people do have a lot of their insurance policies, whether it's long-term care, health, life, disability. And then here are your job-related accounts. So your professional networking, like Women Council of Realtors or whoever you're a member of your real estate, whoever it is, you have that information. And then here we get to our final wishes and arrangements. And this session says exactly what it is. It's meant to assist your family, your attorney, or your executor. Something happens or you become seriously ill, you may have somebody in your family, your parents may have Alzheimer's or something. You've already completed this book, so you already know what it is that they want. And when you go on down, it talks about the survivor's guide. And here you see for your survivors, for your final arrangements, you can come on, Karan. You can go ahead. All right, final arrangements. Look at this right here. It says note to survivors, to my survivors. And it's telling you here, you have carefully thought and completed this worksheet. So it says it may be helpful at the time of my death. I've expressed my preferences on how they would like to do things, their services. Now, sometimes when I show my customers this, they, everybody's different. Some people are like, ooh, I don't want to look at that talking about dying. But I always talk to them, you still have to plan for that. Then that way you already have what it is that you would like to do. And you see it's already signed and dated. So therefore this will stand in court if anything came up. And you can come on down. It even talks about number 1. Okay, I have made prior arrangements. Here is what it's talking about. So the young lady that talked about her brother is giving you information as we go down about if there's anything that they wanted to do. If you want to be cremated or how do you wish to be embalmed, just different things like that. Your funeral or your memorial service, it even talks about at the service, you're going to put the funeral home you want to have it on, your place of worship, the graveside, your religious preferences, whoever you want to conduct that service. And then it tells you here, I have made funeral pre-arrangements at the funeral home. So it tells you that there, and it gives you where you're keeping that paperwork, even the type of casket that you have, your clothing preference, what do you want to put on? Personal accessories. Do you want to wear your wedding band? Do you want to keep that on? What about your eyeglasses, your watch, other things like that? So you can come on down. And then our final arrangement, you're a member of what organizations? If it's the military, if it's your Masons or your sororities, your fraternities, your organizations with your women leadership, or you could be on a board at the church. So you have all that information down here. And then it even talks about number 5, I prefer that a wake be held. Okay, they have that down. I wish the casket to be open or closed. I wish the service to be for the public or private. And then you have all of your pallbearers. You have their names, their phone numbers. You have the speakers listed here, their phone numbers. Then you have those giving prayers, your musical performance and selections, your favorite scriptures, your poems, any kind of customs that you may observe with your religious preference. Do you want flowers? Do you want to make memorial requests? So those kind of things. Maybe you want to donate to St. Jude, or again to your church. And then here are some more final arrangements with your burial preference. Okay, it's asking you, I own a burial property. So then that way you already know what that person has, and they purchased funeral burial plans, the locations of it, the name of the cemetery or the mausoleum, or the name that is in. And then number 6, your neighbors, your friends, your relatives to be contacted. So you have different people down here, and you can go on with your survivors. Okay, do you want the obituary to be published? What do you want on the obituary? Because here you get to make your own comments. How sometimes we're putting things together and it's like, oh my goodness, were they a member of this, or did they do this, or what year did they graduate, or whatever it may be? Then that information they've already put in there. So a lot of that, you already have, so you're already prepared. And so we can come on down. And it talks about doing the first day. So, and here it says, no one can truly be prepared for the death of a loved one, but remember to take things slowly and deliberately, because the overwhelming entanglement of decisions and responsibilities may seem daunting to us, but each step of this process can and should wait until you're ready. But it's talking about doing your first days. So during your first days, you're talking to the funeral home, to the memorial services, and it talks about some pricing, funeral costs. It's giving you some of that information. So it's kind of helping you to be able to control the cost of that. And then it goes to week 1. It talks about the things that you should do, contacting the funeral director, your neighbors, your friends. You're going to need how many death certificates. If you're a veteran, you can contact the Veterans Department, and it gives you a contact number here. You're going to contact your life insurance agent. And you can come on down or up. And then after the funeral, it talks about what do you need to do? You need to meet with your attorney. You need to call the Social Security Administration. It may be that whoever the person passed may have had children under the age of 18, or it may be a spouse that passed, and you're looking at trying to take care of, the Social Security benefits, and there's a telephone number for here. And then on the right-hand side, it talks about opening checking accounts in your name, because a lot of things like this you don't think about because of the fact that you're going through all of that. But looking at that, also, if there's a business that you need to look at different things with, contacting your insurance agent, reevaluating your insurance policies. And we can come on up. And then after the first month, things that you don't think about, like changing your utility bill into your name only, or the cable bill, the garbage collection, your credit cards, changing that, contacting the motor vehicle department because you're going to have to re-register those vehicles, preparing a network statement. So that's still dealing with your budgeting, as far as you still have to look at that, because life still goes on for the ones that are still here. So even it talks about frequent flyer miles, do you get those transferred? After the 3rd month, it talks about what? Compose a monthly budget that you can follow. So therefore it talks about budgeting even in this, and, look at a tax person. And after the 6th month, begin planning for your financial future, because normally you're hoping to move past that. And what you're looking at is now you're beginning to plan for your own future. And we know that we'll always love our loved one. They'll always be on our minds, but it helps us. This book helps us to kind of move on to step by step to see what we need to do when our natural minds are not thinking the way it normally would think. So on the next page, it talks about just your overall financial security guidelines, different things that you would do as far as, are you paying off your mortgage? What about your investments? Are you going to move? Are you going to remarry? It's just a lot of things that is giving you information on here. And then over to the far right side, one thing that's important, it talks about you may receive demands for payments of loans that don't exist. And what happens is a lot of times, how people are not as honest as they were years ago, but either way, you'll be getting information where someone will be sending you a bill, and that bill wasn't even something for you to pay. It may have been something fraudulent. We've had things like that to happen with a few of our customers. You get unsolicited COD merchandise, cash on demand, or false overdue notices. So you have to pay attention to that, because a lot of times you do get that kind of information, because it says here, don't tell strangers that you're alone. So you're going to refer to the deceased as not available. Sometimes you may get a call from someone that's asking for that person. Sometimes it may be someone where that you need to let them know that they passed. You may have made a call yourself, but sometimes you'll get unsolicited calls. So again, if you're in the home by yourself, you don't want them to know that you're there by yourself. So just different things like that sometimes people don't think about. And we come on to month number 6. Here, your library or your religious institution. So most of the time your churches are going to help you, because they do have grief support groups that they can talk to you about bereavement or widowhood, or just, going on and keeping your life going. So it helps you with different things, websites or chat groups. And you go on down, and sometimes your funeral home may be able to give you information on where you could seek that help from. And at the end of this, it talks about French proverb, there is no pillow so soft as a clear conscience. So when you complete your book, you have everything there for your family. They don't have to worry about what's going on. They have everything there available. So, and I did put in the chat that Sherri and I, we do believe in Hosea 4:6, where it says, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. So Sherri and I really do our best to make sure that our people are not destroyed for a lack of knowledge. So we really believe in educating them. So not on our watch. We want to make sure we do all that we can to help you not to be destroyed for lack of knowledge. So that ends my part.
Wonderful. Thanks so much.
Thank
Um,
you.
I'm trying to see if I see anybody in the chat. I have a question. I'm about to type in the chat, and the first two who answer the question will receive a free copy of the book. This is the author, our very own Reginald Clark is our last speaker of the month. This is his book. His book is available on Amazon. It's also available via him directly. And I can get you guys his information. Just send me an email or a text. And I'll put all my information in the chat as well. But I'm gonna put the question in, and we have 2 folks who will get a free book. And Pastor Horton, I got you a free one too.
I need to ask a question before you do all of that.
I'm gonna go ahead and do that in the chat, and you can go ahead and ask your question.
Yes, let me see, where is it?
No,
I
we
just
can hear
wanna-
you. Go ahead with your
Oh,
question.
I just want to know where, because I might not have heard at the very beginning, where do you get that book that she has been explaining?
There's a
I have the book, and I'll make sure that I get it to I'll get it to Pastor Horton, I'll get it to Darlene and some others. I can make sure I get it out so everybody gets an electronic copy. But if you want a
Okay.
hard copy, then I suggest that you look for the information that they put in the chat so that you can reach out to them directly and maybe set up some time to talk with them.
Okay, but I need that book.
Yes, ma'am. Aunt Lucy, I got you.
Okay.
we got you, Aunt Lucy.
Okay, thank you. That was a lot in that book.
Good book.
Yes, it's very helpful to keep you organized and everything in one place.
Oh, and I'm sorry, I see a question in the chat. Prearranged with the funeral home. Is this a good option, or should funeral expenses be paid from the life insurance policy?
Sherri, you can answer that, but I would say
Yeah.
you could do either. You know,
Yeah.
it just depends on, what you want to do. Now, when you have a life insurance policy, most of the time when you're working with the funeral home, they're usually going to connect with that insurance company, and then they're going to set aside, the insurance company is going to set aside whatever it is. Let's say if you spend $15,000 or 12 or 20 or whatever that amount is, they're going to make sure that your life insurance has that amount, and then they set that aside. So let's say you had $100,000 policy and the funeral was 15, then the insurance company is going to set aside that 15,000, and the balance goes to whoever the beneficiaries are. So you can do either one. You can use the burial plan, or you can use the life insurance. Now, the life insurance, you can use it for anything. Let's say you need to pay your house note or buy groceries or get your lawn mowed or whatever it is, that the things that you were used to doing, you can use that for anything. Now, the burial policy is only going to be for burial. You're not going to be able to use it for anything but burial. So sometimes people go ahead and use that first, because on the life insurance side, you can use it for the burial and for anything else that you need. Let's say you need to put a roof on the house because you're trying to pay the house off. You can use it for that, the life insurance. So therefore, it's your choice depending on, what your needs are.
Yeah, it's only really 2 advantages to paying for a funeral. One would be you could possibly save money on the cost of the funeral by prepaying. It just depends on if some people are very frugal and they want to make sure that they save money. So you can prepay if you trust that funeral home to be around. So you would have to do some research on who you're prepaying with, because we have seen some horror stories on that. The other reason for prepaying for a funeral is if you're uninsurable. Some people have health issues where they may not be able to obtain life insurance, and that may be an option.
Karan, who got the prize?
Our winners are Sister Sandra Johnson and Sister Elaine Turner. So the question was, does a universal policy have a permanent rate, a permanent monthly rate? And you guys will recall that Miss Sherri Thomas stated that for a universal policy, which is I guess similar to a term policy, that can change, whereas your whole policy has a set rate. Is that correct, Sister Thomas?
It is correct, but don't look at your universal like it's a term. It is a permanent policy, but it does have a flexible rate. So you're correct in that it does not have a permanent rate. It has a projected permanent rate, but it is flexible. It can change.
Wonderful. So, this has been great. We just finished our giveaway. We have closing remarks tonight. I first want to say thank you guys so much. Thank you so much to Miss Cynthia Scales, and thank you so much, Miss Sherri Thomas, for spending time with us and sharing with us your expert knowledge in regards to your areas of expertise. We're very happy and excited that you were able to come out. I learned a lot. I know some other folks on here learned a lot as well. I will make certain to get the book out. If for you tech savvy folks, I did put a link in the chat and I tested the link. You can use that link to get to the electronic copy of the book that Ms. Scales discussed tonight. And I will also make sure Pastor gets it, and Darlene and a few others at the church, to be sure that it gets out to everybody. And so tonight, our closing remarks will come from Miss Lanita Johnson, and Pastor Horton will do our final wrap up. Oh, and I do have a small gift for the ladies who assisted us this evening. Of course, I'm a Mary Kay consultant, so I got you guys covered. Thank you so much.
That's sweet.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Cynthia and Sherri, for this wonderful wealth of knowledge. This is a start to something that's going to be great throughout the month of July. And I'm so happy you guys were able to attend and to inform and educate us this evening. I definitely learned something as well, as Karan stated. And I too, like Aunt Lucy said, I too want a copy of that book. That book really lays things out very thoroughly. And I think everyone, I actually want to get a copy of that and give that to several family members, because that would help everyone organize their lives a lot better. So thank you so much again, ladies.
Well, if you know somebody that's not on right now, they're your friend or they're your relative, even if they're your enemy, let them come on next Wednesday at 7 o'clock. I know that the Lord will give them a tremendous blessing. Let's invite our friends. Let's let different church members know that prayer meeting is going to be off the chain, because we're going to talk about how we can spend God's money. The Bible says the silver and gold is mine, and he owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, and yet he gives us the opportunity to spend his money, but we should do it wisely. So I hope you come back on next Wednesday, the 14th, and also on July the 21st and July the 28th. Invite your friends. Let's see if we can get 50 people on our prayer meeting line for next Wednesday. If you call people, about 5 or 6 of them, let them know, and call some young people, because some young people, they need to know this information. They need to be aware of this information even at a very young age. So let's let people know this information. Let's not keep it a secret, and then let's be blessed by it ourselves. You know, you can know all this information, but if you don't do anything about it, kind of a waste of time. So I hope that you don't only listen, but that you determine to do something about it. All right, let's have our prayer. We're going to close out our prayer meeting for tonight. You have the announcements in front of you. You know that we're starting our revival on August the 8th on Zoom, the same channel. Hope that you can enjoy it and also start telling people about it. Let's pray. Father, which art in heaven, thank you again for your guidance in our lives. We know that you are so great that there's nothing too hard for you. We pray for those that are sick and those that are hurting today, those that are discouraged. We pray for those that are homeless and those that are hungry. Use us to help somebody. Help us not just to think of ourselves, but help us to know that the real way that we show we're your disciples, if we have love one for another. Thank you for the presentations this evening. And Lord, we just thank you so much that you brought Sister Thomas and Sister Scales by, and give them a blessing for just sharing with us today. Thank you again for this special time that we can come together as a family and call on your holy name. Guide us through the rest of this day, the rest of this evening, and keep us by your eternal grace. In the matchless name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. Good night, everybody.
Amen.
Good
Good night. Amen.
Good night,
Thank you.
amen.
Bye.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was
Good night.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karan.
Have a good evening.
Thank you again, Karan.
Yes, ma'am. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
It was great. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mima, for joining. Lucy, I'm gonna send you the link.
You're
All
welcome.
right, I
Thank you.
definitely need it. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I said I'm gonna send you guys the book in just a few minutes.
Thank
Okay.
you very much.
All right. Bye.